is Lori Rista. I am the Senior Vice President of Communications for the Iowa Healthcare Association and the Executive Director of the Association's Foundation.
Great. Well, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. Like I said, this is, I know, especially right now, and the last 12 months have been crazy time for you, and we wanted to just get a little bit of background about who you are and your role and just how 2020 has had an impact on both.
Yeah, so funny how that worked. When I finished Drake, I got my first job in communications in the financial services industry, and I have worked in the financial services industry my entire career up until a couple years ago. And in 2018, I thought, I'm getting to the midpoint of my career. I really want to see if I can make a bigger impact. And I had one of my very dear friends from grade school always been a long-term care nurse. And she talks about, the difference she makes in her job and the people she helps. And I knew I could never be a nurse, but was there a way I could use my communication skills to help in that way? And around the same time I'm having these thoughts, this position opens up at the Iowa Healthcare Association. And I applied and I got the job in 2018 and never looked back. It's been amazing.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about your role. If you had to give an elevator pitch, I'll start with the association first because I know you've got two different hats. So when somebody asks, what is the Iowa Healthcare Association, we'll start there. A little bit about the organization, if you want to give us some information there.
Yeah, well, we're a trade association for post-acute care providers. So think of any care you need outside of a hospital. It could be a home health care agency, an assisted living facility, or a skilled nursing facility, which we call nursing homes. All of those providers are members of our trade association, and there's about 800 of them across the state of Iowa. So what we do as a trade association is we help those providers by providing services to help them. So we provide education and training for them, we provide advocacy and government relations, we provide a lot of communications and information, which is what I do. And then we also have the foundation, which provides opportunities for additional resources as well. For a trade association, there's not really a day in the life. There's a typical season. So typically in the late fall or early spring, we're gearing up for the next legislative session because we advocate for our members. A lot of people in long-term care rely on Medicaid funding to cover that cost. So we make sure we're at the Capitol every session to communicate the importance of funding Medicaid for long-term care. So we're always gearing up for that in the fall. We're also gearing up for every spring we do a big quarterly educational event that's very robust for every discipline in the long-term care sector. You could be a dietary manager, a nurse, activities professional. We have educational sessions available at this big spring quarterly meeting. So we gear up for that every year at the end of the year for the spring. And then for me and for the foundation, our scholarships open up every March. So we're getting ready, in the fall, making sure we have the funding in place we need and how many scholarships can we offer this year and getting that all ready to go in the spring.
So then February, March occurs, 2020. Take us through some of the early days of COVID. Now, being in the healthcare industry and world, you were, I'm sure, getting fast and furious information. What were some of the first few days, weeks like for you in terms of just kind of setting out how this was going to impact the organization?
Yeah, I still remember the first member that called to let us know that they had a COVID case in their facility because they call us a lot for regulatory compliance and advice information, and they wanted to make sure they had the most recent information on COVID from us. And at that point, we'd already heard what was going on in Washington and the coast, so you just knew how serious this virus for the elderly that we care for. We already knew how devastating it could be for people over 85 with multiple health conditions, and those are exactly the people our members care for. So for working in the association, you just felt this, just obligation. You really wanted to help them in any way you could because you knew what they were on the front lines. So when we were in our offices, and we wanted to do all we could to help them. So the first few days was just we established a COVID team of staff members specifically dedicated to what can we do to help our members throughout this pandemic. That included, our clinical experts, our regulatory compliance experts, because there's a lot of changing regulations throughout, and our communications. We had a lot of communications questions, so we all worked together to figure out how we could best help our members throughout this whole pandemic, not knowing how long it would last at the time.
Right, exactly. Well, and so did your role go more into emergency response, or how did it obviously changed your day-to-day, but were there specific shifts that you knew
for communications, a big shift went to more crisis communications mode. I mean, it's something you'd always trained for, what to do in a crisis, but helping members with crisis communications, like making sure, you're communicating to your families, what to do if the media calls, and just holding a hand through that process and helping them.
Absolutely.
For me, what kept me going is just knowing the members appreciated our support. I mean, they were always so gracious and thanking us for what we were doing, and the whole time I'm thinking, what you're doing is so amazing. You're there really helping people in critical need, yet they were so grateful for us. That really just kept me going personally. Like, all of us just couldn't do enough to help them because they were so appreciative and doing so much themselves.
You knew that their work was, your work was critical to their success.
Yeah.
Well, so my question on here is who kept you motivated, or who keeps you motivated when things get tough? Are there people in your life or people that you work with that keep you going?
Well, definitely my coworkers. I felt like we were all in it together. We definitely work as a team and have the same mindset and wanted to help others. So we always helped each other out. If someone was busy, someone else would pitch in and help, and that's been great. My friend, who is a long-term care nurse, she kept me going because I could hear from her on the front lines what she was dealing with, and it kept me going.
The one that got you all started it.
Yeah. So,
circle.
There's no day I could have that would be as tough as what she had to face every day.
My name's Dusty Suela, and I am the owner of Panda Marie in Hiawatha. My background was actually in the medical field, worked at both hospitals, worked for Iowa Donor Network for a couple years, but worked primarily in the operating room. And then changed careers a bit and went into nutrition. And then during this time, I personally had some internal struggles that, my family, my husband and my boys knew about, but people in the outside world did not know about. So it was very, I guess I was shamed about it, but it was something that I'd struggled with for a long time. So I finally got some help 6.5 years ago, almost 7 years ago now, and made some big life changes. And with that, actually through rehab, I found that these different modalities, so like yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and just being positive really helped me. So I thought, if it can help me, it can definitely help others. So my name is actually, it's Dusty, but my parents were going to name me Panda. That's where Panda Marie came from.
Really?
So yes,
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
My middle name's Marie.
This is why I love these interviews. I learned something new.
Yep. So
cool.
that's where Panda Marie came from, and my colors are turquoise. I'm half Native American, and anyway, so I, started this business, and I had a friend who really encouraged me to open this business, and I went into it just, kind of just full force, and not really having a huge business background, but knowing that I do have discipline and drive, and once I set my mind to something, I typically get it done. So I have a huge support system of, amazing females that have supported me this whole journey. Also my husband, my kids. And so in September of 2018, I took this plunge, and I stepped into it full time, and I help a huge variety of people. So whether it's people just wanting to live a healthier lifestyle with nutrition, people in the throes of addiction, all sorts of addiction, so food, drugs, alcohol, also Al-Anon. So that's a big part of it, because there's those people that support and love the people in the throes of addiction. So I'm very grateful for my family that have supported me. But yeah, I really just help whoever, whatever. I had somebody come in just this last week that just wants to live a healthier, happier lifestyle. So changing their negative energy and negative thoughts into a positive. So that's really what I've been doing and what I do. And I also teach yoga, meditation. I do sound healing, stuff with aromatherapy, just many different things. I think that so many people learned a lot about themselves this last year. And for me, that I'm resilient, that I can make some changes, I can pivot, knowing that, just that change that it is possible. Like, if you're in a tough spot, whether it be, in your marriage or with addiction or whatever, that things can change. You just have to make some changes. I'm grateful for this life that I get to live, and for my, it brings my heart joy to be able to offer these services, and just to be a friend to others. And this is what I get to do every day. Like, how cool is that? So I'm literally living my dream, and I think that's because of some hard work and making some changes, but also being disciplined and knowing what I want. So yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
So those that don't know, right, Brianna, you run and own Vivian's Soul Food.
Yes.
That's
yes,
awesome.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah, so kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, about your background, how you and your husband met, all those great things.
My husband and I met about 12 years ago. We were working together in a call center. Yeah, so that was that. Then at Cedar Rapids, we would bump into each other. And about a year and a half later, we were in a relationship and had our first child on the way. Awesome. And so now, through the 12 years, we were married. We have 2 children, ages 2 and 9. He's the entrepreneur, he's the risk taker. Cool. So Vivian's is his dream. I'm an operations manager and I'm in corporate America. So business is my thing. Cool. So he had an idea, I turned it into a business.
You go, girl. As a child, did you ever think that you'd run and own a full restaurant and do all that?
No, absolutely not, no. So I wanted to be a teacher. I was gonna be an educator. Awesome. I am kind of bossy, I'm told, a little bit by nature, since childhood. I'm the eldest of 4 siblings, and so I was just always teaching and growing. We played school often, so I'm told that from the time I could speak, I want to be a teacher. I started out going that direction. Life took me other ways. And then, when Vivian's Soul Food started, it was really more of an outlet and just an idea. We started out really small intentionally. We knew that because there's nothing like it here, if it wasn't successful, we were like, well, we only invested enough that we were willing to lose. Totally. It definitely grew overnight, it feels like. Yeah. And it just turned into really having to step in and implement and build and grow really, really quickly. So definitely not where I saw myself, but I'm here for it now. So pre-COVID, we really wanted to expand our services. At our old location, our kitchen was so small that we would get overwhelmed so easily. We could only take so many orders. There was a really long wait time. The other thing is that we got so many catering requests that we just couldn't accommodate. Yeah, but we'd have to turn them down, you know? We didn't have the space or the manpower or the time. It was, when we got catering requests, we'd have to choose, do we do regular business today or do we do catering? Oh, wow. And which one, So when we moved to Williams, it was really, the goal was just to expand all of our services, but with an emphasis on being able to do catering and operate regularly. Cool. And then we had some goals. We wanted to stand up another one eventually. Yeah. I mean, it's been a hit, and we were like, if we can get one on the other side of town. We have so many people that from Marion and Northeast side and whatnot. So that was the goal.
Cool. And then pandemic and COVID. Yes. I mean, talk us through that point. I mean, when you guys sat down, right, and Governor Reynolds was like, great, we're carryout only, you're officially closed, this is what we have to do. I mean, when did you guys, settle in that this was gonna be life-changing, that this was not gonna, that we weren't gonna go back, right? I feel like everyone's kind of mind was like, we'll have this for 2 weeks, we'll kind of go back to normal. I guess, when did that settle in for you guys?
Oh, I don't know that it still hasn't. Really, it's literally a day-by-day situation. At the very beginning, though, that first announcement that she made last March when she put, mandates in place for businesses and services and all that jazz, we had like a half dozen of us or so in the restaurant. It was on a Monday, and we're closed on Mondays. So we were in the restaurant just watching this take place live, and we were like, what's gonna happen? And when she said that, we were just kind of like, okay, what does this mean? Totally. Where do we go from here? And we just didn't know. So the following day, we opened up. What's really funny is that our line, which was previously stocked, stacks high of plates and bowls, was really quickly replaced with to-go containers and liners and bags and all of that stuff. Yeah.
So right, pandemic hit, things feel like we're getting somewhat of more of a rhythm. And then in Eastern Iowa, derecho hit. For derecho 2020, right? I feel like it was an ever-changing year. I guess talk us through that with you guys.
So at the restaurant, our air conditioning units are on top of our building. Yeah. Those were ripped off and holes were left. And then the storm, through the holes, blew everything around on the inside. Plus all of the front windows were knocked out. So lots of damage. We had just gotten a very large weekly food delivery order on that Monday morning at about 9:30, and the storm happened at about 11:30 or 12, somewhere around there. So our walk-in freezer had just been fully stocked with thousands of dollars of food. Yeah, that just went bad. We're very determined people, my husband and I. You know, we make things shake. It's like, that's like our love language, to like really shake stuff up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it works for us. And so we were closed for about we were only closed for as long as we didn't have power. Awesome. The moment we got power in, we got our team in there, we did a lot of cleanup. We opened up without windows, with half air, so it was kind of warm. Yeah. And we had no POS system, so we were doing everything 100% pen, paper, cash. Yeah. But we were like, we have to bounce back and we have to do this. And there were some people who were irritated, I think, with the level of service. But there were more people who were just like, it's a hot meal.
Exactly, we gotta eat.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the crazy thing, is that, like, you know, no matter if you lived on the north side, the south side, or wherever you lived, you didn't have anything. Nothing. And so it's like, it was great to see the community come around and you guys be able to do that for them. That's incredible.
Anyone that is still struggling coming out of 2020, I would say, keep your head up and put your faith somewhere. And whatever you practice or believe in or whatever, put your faith somewhere and understand that you can only do what you can do. And a negative mind is going to bring negative results. You know, and so all of the, what do they say, plan for the best, expect the worst, or plan for the worst, plan, whatever that saying is, scratch the whole thing. That's why I don't know it. Just scratch it. You know, just scratch it and take it one moment at a time, do the best that you can possibly do, and just keep it moving, keep your head up.